agenda. All right. Namaste and welcome everyone to the Travel MSME Knowledge Series presented to you by FICCI and Google. I really hope that all been keeping safe. I am an industry manager for the travel vertical at Google. Following the series, by now you would know that I've had the good fortune of being the Sutradhar for this entire series. I'm really glad today to bring to you the fourth and the final edition of the Travel MSME Knowledge Series. First of all, I want to incredibly thank you for such an overwhelming response that you have given to this initiative. And most importantly, all the feedback and the participation that we have received from you. So we at Google have a long-term commitment to supporting the MSME ecosystem, and your feedback and inputs are going to really help us in all our future efforts that we are doing to bring the best of Google to you. Throughout this series, we have spoken of how India is seeing rapid digitization. It's accelerated with the COVID-19 impact, and how small businesses, which are the true backbone of our industry, especially businesses in the travel sector, need to quickly adapt themselves to the new environment, to the changing consumer trends that are happening in the industry, and come up with new ways of doing business. We've seen a huge uptake in the usage of adoption of digital. It's literally like seeing the entire country undergo a crash course in doing digital. And then across board, Google has been committed to helping MSMEs unlock this full value of going digital. Through this series of 4 webinars that we've brought to you in partnership with FICCI, this has been a step and an endeavor in that direction in helping all of you. I acknowledge that these are extremely difficult times for all of us, and just like us at Google, all of you must be managing work and family commitments, and with the current situation in travel, so much more that's happening with your business. So I truly want to appreciate and thank you for spending time and investing in yourself and your business by attending these webinar series. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the FICCI team for their support and the partnership, which has made this possible for us to bring to you an initiative of this kind, where we've put together content which is curated for MSMEs travel. The FICCI team, comprising of Mr. Anirban Chatterjee and Mr. Manish Ahuja, have constantly worked with us to help us in putting together the right content that can really help you grow your business. I would also like to thank all of the leaders who have supported and guided us through this entire series. Leaders from the Ministry of Tourism, from FICCI, and from Google. From the Ministry of Tourism, I would like to thank Mrs. Rupinder Brar, Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, India. From the FICCI team, I would like to thank Mr. Dilip Shenoy, Secretary General, FICCI, and Mr. Ankush Nijhawan and Ashish Kumar, co-chairmen of the FICCI Travel and Technology Committee. From Google India, I'd like to thank Mrs. Roma Datta Chaube, Director of Travel, BFSI Classifieds, Gaming, Payments and Telco in Google India, and Ms. Vibha Kaushik, Head of Industry Travel at Google India. Of course, there's no way we can end this series by not thanking our speakers, because all of our speakers have not just put together curated content, they've customized this for you as much as possible. So a big shout out to all of our speakers for this series: Aparna Rao, Bishwa Raj, Pratyush Sinha, Priya Ramaswamy, and Abhinav Kishore. On behalf of Bishmaya, Priya, and myself from the Google team, I'm thanking everybody who's been part of making this initiative a success. And on that note, I'm going to request Ankush, who's joined us today, to just address the audience and share his views with us. Over to you, Ankush.
Thank you, Shweta. You make my life easier by introducing this and opening the session. I think this series has actually sent a benchmark, on kind of impact which both the organizations, Google and FICCI, have created for the MSMEs. I think this is one of the need of the hours today, because today all our travel fraternity and my friends who keep talking to me how to actually digitize themselves and make sure that they can create more revenue streams by going online. I think there's no better platform than Google. And how to adopt that, how can you monetize it further? And I think you guys have done a fabulous job in the last 4 sessions, what you did. I really thank all the speakers who came on, including yourself and Abhinav. And definitely, I think was not possible without the effort of Manish and Anirban and Mr. Chinoy. I think FICCI has done an extremely job of helping the industry, and especially post-COVID, when things settle down, and I'm sure this will help us to building more incomes and profits for our fellow colleagues and the MSMEs. So thanks a lot, Shweta, and everybody at Google. And I'm sure something or the other we will do again, hopefully after a quarter, once the thing settles down in a bigger way, or probably something different. And I'll surely get the feedback along with my colleagues at FICCI on what are the next so-called requirements or some other ideas which they would like to discuss and learn from a great company like Google. So thanks a lot, Shweta, and back to you.
Thank you, Ankush. And, we're really looking forward to continuing this partnership. As I said, this is a step in the direction that we've taken, but I'm sure there's much more to come. Great. So with that, I'd probably like to start on with the agenda. Abhinav, if you could help us put that together, the slides. All right. So I want to take a little bit of time and recap what we've done in the last 4 sessions, especially for many of you who might have missed a couple of these sessions. Please note that all of this is available on the YouTube channel of FICCI. So in case you missed any of it and you find it relevant for your business, you can always go back to the YouTube channel and go through all of this content in detail. So this was a series of 4 webinars that we tried to encapsulate with various aspects of digital which are tailored to the travel business. So the first session, we actually took you through some of the trends that we are seeing in the travel segment, some thought starters on how can you really use these trends to rethink of your own business. And most importantly, we tried to take you through the tools that you can use, which are freely available, that you can use to keep monitoring these trends and keep making decisions which are relevant for your business. In our second session, we covered an overview of the basics of setting up a business online by leveraging tools like Google My Business, as well as we shared with you some of the learnings of what you need to keep in mind when you're building your own website so that you can get more users and be able to serve more of your customers online. While in the third session, we uncovered very simple ways of promoting your business and getting direct bookings from Google. We tried to make it as simple as possible for you to consume, and we're thankful for the feedback that you've given us. Today, in the fourth and the last session of this series, we will be talking about how you can leverage some of the cloud technology and solutions to build digitally enabled businesses. Now, cloud for many of us might be a word that might be overwhelming. But today what we've tried to do is we've tried to specifically talk about simple ways in which you can use some of these solutions and how you can really put it to use to make your business that's digitally enabled. These are just obviously a few examples that we put together, and I'm sure there is much more as you start in uncovering the power of cloud technology solutions you will be able to do for your own business. So with that, I want to introduce you today to our speaker for the day. We have Abhinav Kishore with us today. He is the India head for SMB for Google Cloud. And Abhinav has been very kind enough to completely, as I said, curate this content for this session alone. And he's actually gone to the effort of researching himself and figuring out that what are some of the things that would be most relevant for you as travel MSMEs to pick up and try and see as solutions that you want to build for your own businesses. So with that, I want to thank Abhinav and welcome him here to take the session forward today. Just a few points that I'd like to highlight are that we are going to keep about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the session for taking up questions. And you can ask all your questions on the comment section on the YouTube channel. And we're also going to post an email ID. In case we're not able to answer your question and you still have a question that's pending, feel free to write to us on that email ID as well, and we'll be happy to pick it up and answer the question. The email ID is going to be available and open till end of the day today. So if you have any questions till then, please feel free to post it. And just like I've been harping upon the point of how feedback is so important to us, we are going to send you a feedback form, and we request if you can send us as much of your feedback in terms of comments, inputs, whether this was helpful, and what you'd like to even see in the future from us. And that will make it much easier for us. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Abhinav to take us through the amazing content today. Over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking out time to invest in upskilling and learning. As Shweta said, we are all going through this pandemic and some very, very turbulent times, frankly. In my opinion, the only way forward is really to quickly adapt, reimagine, and keep innovating. Uh, as, as Shweta introduced, I work in the small and medium business space, and ever since this pandemic hit us, I've been chatting with a lot of businesses trying to understand really what are the most fundamental pain points. And a lot of the pain that businesses are currently seeing are around just getting disconnected from their consumers, getting disconnected from their employees, not figuring out how to deal with the whole work from home situation. And what I'm going to talk about today is really, as Shweta mentioned earlier, think of it as a crash course, right? Cloud and different tools and technologies that are available as part of that are really a starting point. They are thought starters for you to try and figure out what is it that you can do very creatively and very differently with them to really enable your consumers, enable your employees, and just grow your businesses overall. The one other very important thing that I want to call out is digital innovation. It's no longer a luxury. It's no longer a reaction to the current situation that we are facing. Irrespective of any market context out there, all of you, if you are aspiring to be fast growing businesses that are staying on top of what your consumers want from you, you should treat digital innovation, digital enablement as a hygiene. It's not a good to have anymore, it's a must have. Let's think about what is it that's actually changing, specifically in the travel industry as the whole COVID situation has kind of hit us, right? Uh, Starting with the first and the most important thing, trust. Uh, your consumers are discovering your brand today. And when they discover your brand online or offline, the most important thing is that they need to have a positive first impression. Your brand identity needs to inspire trust. It needs to inspire confidence. What's challenging though today is that the whole idea of a physical interaction or a physical brand identity virtually has like ceased to exist, right? Your brand is being discovered online, and you need to inspire that trust and confidence when you're being discovered digitally. I saw that you all have attended a few sessions in the past that talk about a digital positioning and a digital presence of your brand. And this is what you really need to ensure that your brand, whether it's your website, whether it's your email address, or whether it's your online listing, it's all coming together to inspire that kind of trust. Uh, as the consumers are doing a lot more discovery online, they're also apprehensive. They are very, very cautious. They want to know which are the businesses that are genuine and which are the businesses that might potentially be fraudulent, right? There are a lot of frauds and a lot of scams out there. Almost every other day, I read like an article about some different payment scam that has come up. Do you stand out as one of those brands or one of those businesses that can inspire trust in your customers? And how do you break out from the clutter of different brands that have a digital presence as of today? These are the parameters that are super, super important that you should keep in mind. The next very critical factor is customer service. And again, we need to remember that while we may tag somebody as a customer or consumer, they are human beings first. They are very anxious, they are very uncertain, they are very worried about their families and about their own safety. This can manifest in different ways. Your consumers have a lot of questions. They're looking for urgent responses. They need to believe that you truly care about them and that you're not just intending to sell new products and new services to them. Your entire customer service approach needs to adapt in order to stay relevant going forward. The third important thing, your employees. Your employees are dealing with a whole new way of working and a whole new way of operating. Many of them have, in all likelihood, not even done this whole work from home routine ever in the past, or even like a remote working in the past. They are also suffering from lack of social engagement with their peers. They don't get face time with their supervisors or with their founders of the organization. And they're constantly wondering, Am I doing the right things? Do I need to course correct anything? Can somebody give me some advice about this? And they're constantly missing that real-time feedback loop that would actually exist in a physical space. So how do we kind of replicate that same experience and bring that same comfort to the employees within your organization? Last, but probably one of the most important ones, is business processes. A lot of business processes suffer from what I call the legacy syndrome, right? Um, Legacy syndrome basically means that you're investing in tools and technologies and you're investing in really smart talent for your organization, but you're layering all of that good stuff on top of business processes that are probably legacy and outdated in nature. As a result of that, you're really failing to reap the benefits of these new investments. As we go forward, there are some much needed changes to business processes. The most fundamental ones being all your processes and all your operations need to be as low touch as possible. They need to be super efficient. You need to figure out a way where you're avoiding shared physical items or shared physical spaces. So let's talk about what are the tools and technologies that can really enable you to redesign these business processes and then execute them. I'm going to be talking very, very little about products today. I genuinely and sincerely believe that any product is only as good as how you handle the change management, how you handle the adoption, and how do you make that product relevant for your business use cases, right? G Suite is a product that basically encapsulates multiple different offerings that can enable your organization. Let me try and break this down, right? Um, think of a very simple gmail.com email ID that many or most of you might have, right? Uh, what differentiates a gmail.com address from what I'm going to talk about from a G Suite perspective is that Gmail is meant for personal use, right? What G Suite enables you to do, first of all, before anything else, it enables you to own your business identity. And I'm going to tie this back to the brand identity piece that I spoke of a little earlier. Think of the fact that if you're a business and you're interacting with a potential customer, a potential supplier, and you're using a gmail.com ID, it basically means that you're an individual communicating. Now, think of whether if you had an email ID that said xyz at mybusiness.com, where my business is the name of your business organization, and that's the email that you use to communicate. It means that you're not only owning your brand identity, you're creating something that can be digitally relevant, that can inspire a lot of trust and confidence with somebody that they're actually dealing with a legitimate business versus, let's say, a gmail.com ID that an individual might have created for themselves. The second important piece is about just working faster and better, right? And what's very important for your employees and also for your customers is familiarity. That will just help them have a much smaller learning curve. The good thing about a lot of these solutions that you see here, which is Google Docs, Google Sheets, Forms, these are all already available, prevalent in the market. Everybody who's using an Android phone has access to these applications, and many other smartphone platforms have access to these applications. What you do with G Suite is that you bring all of these applications under control, which is the third point here on the slide, as the owner and administrator of an organization. Let me give you a few examples. Let's imagine that you're a small organization, you may have only 2 or 3 different employees, but they're using their personal email accounts to communicate with the customers or communicate amongst themselves. As an owner of the organization, you unfortunately do not have any control over the data or over the communication that's happening there. What G Suite enables you to do is ensure that every data that belongs to your organization is sitting within your control. It's not sitting on a stray USB drive somewhere. It's not sitting on a personal laptop somewhere. It's sitting in your organization's G Suite account. This is very important because the customers and, let's say, the other businesses or suppliers that you might be dealing with, they are very, very cautious about data security, and they don't want their data going in somebody's personal account or personal device. And G Suite kind of enables you to bring all of that together. That was just a very, very short introduction to the tools and technologies that I might be referring to today. I'm going to move on to the more interesting stuff now. Let's look at different use cases, and these are different scenarios that you're all facing on a day-to-day basis with your customers or with your employees. And how can technology really enable you to provide a delightful customer experience to those? Let's start with the first one. Imagine that you are trying to work with a customer that's kind of looking for, let's say, a travel itinerary, right? As a few different global markets have started to open up, customers have very early questions that, hey, what are the kind of options that I have available at this point? Or if you're a chain of resorts, uh, can I see what the resort looks like? Can you tell me a little more about what the kind of packages that are available? And a lot of these customers like very high engagement. They want like the same touch and feel experience that they would have had if they walked into your office or if they walked into your property to have a look. What you can do is that with Google Meet and Google Calendar put together, you can, number one, actually schedule an appointment with them. You can align with them on a particular time at which you want to talk to them and at which you want to engage with them. With Google Meet, which is a video conferencing solution, you can actually get a face-to-face experience similar to what we have right now, and you can share like different kind of plans. You can share your screen, similar to how I'm sharing this presentation on the screen right now. You can do all of that, right? Uh, why is that important? Number one, it puts a face to a name. Uh, and it goes back to the whole idea of building a brand identity, building trust, and building a good customer experience. You're actually a person who's talking to your customer, answering their queries in real time, and providing them the information that they need. The second very, very important aspect is that when you're talking to a customer, you want to get a sense of are they really able to resonate with what you're talking to them or what you're pitching to them. Their facial expressions will tell you so much about whether the travel itinerary that you're talking about is that even interesting to them. If not, you can quickly adapt yourself. You can tell them something else that might appeal to them a lot more. And lastly, but very important, both of these tools that I'm referring to here, whether it's a calendar, whether it's Google Meet, it's available by default on any phone, any tablet, any smartphone devices is available out there. And your consumers, by the way, your customers can continue using their gmail.com account. They don't need a business account to interact with you. So that's the magic of it. You can continue using a professional G Suite identity for yourself, whereas your customers can still use the free Gmail that they're so used and familiar with. The next example, and while this one I particularly like because it's a really small tactical thing, but it's just so beautiful, right? Uh, whether you're a hotel chain or again, whether you're booking tours, travels, whether you're an aggregator, you will always have a few questions that are coming very commonly from your customers. These are questions like, hey, can I get driving directions to XYZ property that you have? Or if somebody's checked into your hotel room, the question that they would have is, how do I connect with the guest Wi-Fi? Now, imagine a scenario where you have a few different employees and they're all kind of recreating the answers to these same common questions every single time. And when they're recreating those answers, they're maybe using different words, different languages, or potentially if they're not aligned, they might be given different answers to the same question. You don't want that happening. That's not the best customer experience. What G Suite allows you to do is that it allows you to create templatized canned responses within your Gmail account. So as an administrator, you can create these templatized responses. It saves a lot of time and maintains a lot of consistency in your customer experience when they get very similar answers to similar questions when they ask it. The next one, this is another favorite of me. A lot of you would have seen when you check into a hotel, hotels would have a mini bar which stocks with different snacks, beverages, and every single day, one of the hotel housekeeping staff, they would actually take a stock of what's kind of consumed from the minibar, what needs to be restocked, and then accordingly, the guests who are occupying that room, they would be charged in their bill. Now, I have seen, like in a majority of cases, there's a housekeeping staff that's actually carrying like a big physical folder with different sheets of paper inside that, one for every room, and they're actually like ticking and crossing or putting numbers on that sheet to kind of take a stock of what the consumption is, right? Imagine the life of that folder. That folder goes back somewhere, sits in an office. There's somebody who's probably doing some kind of data entry, or probably there's a supervisor who's going to take those sheets, punch that data into a computer somewhere, and then manually make an effort to add all of those to your guest bill. What are some of the drawbacks of that entire life cycle? Number one, it's time consuming, it's inefficient, it is prone to, let's say, one particular sheet getting lost, in which case you can't possibly charge your guests if you've lost the sheet. What it also does, especially relevant in today's day and time, it's creating a shared item, right? There's a shared folder that's getting passed on between so many people. There's shared sheets of paper that are getting passed on between so many people, right? And you would want to avoid that as far as possible. How do we remedy that situation? Google Forms, very, very quick, simple, easy solution. Again, available on the lowest end possible smartphone device. All that your hotel staff needs to do is take a pre-populated form. You can create and design that form to track the different items that you commonly stock, have like drop downs for the kind of quantity, drop downs for what is in stock and what is out of stock. And literally with a 4 to 5 minutes of like taking that stock, your hotel staff can update that in Google Form. What that data does is that it goes and sits in a Google Sheet spreadsheet. And that happens in real time, by the way. There's absolutely no delay between what's happening on the phone and how the data is getting recorded on Google Sheets. What adds to the magic is that if you've got a larger hotel staff, which means that you have like 4, 5 or a larger team, and they're all serving different rooms, all of the data can actually get collated in the same spreadsheet at the same time. It's a real-time update that you're getting. You're not waiting for the end of the day for someone to do like punching of that data into like a different application or a different sheet. How do you take that step forward? Now that you have all of that data collated in a single place, in a single source, you can do real-time analysis to figure out trends. You can find out what is the most common minibar consumed product on weekends versus on weekdays. You can ensure that if your products are running out of stock on weekend, you stock them well in advance on a Friday evening, right? You can figure out that what are the common consumption trends related to time, for example. There's a whole lot of analysis and even a lot of predictability that gets built into the entire system if you're able to collect the data at this rate. It also leads to a much better customer experience, right? You want to make sure that the next time the customer is looking for that favorite snack bar from the mini bar, it's always available for them. The next example that I want to call out, this one's on live chat support. And this is again tying back to the customer experience and how do we redefine the business processes, right? Again, tell me if this sounds familiar, right? The number of times a hotel guest has some queries either about, let's say, connecting to Wi-Fi, they need to make like a small complaint about something in the washroom, and they would either call or they would actually walk up to a reception desk, right? You want to avoid that. A lot of times people would walk into, let's say, a travel agency's office to have like ask very, very fundamental queries. How do you avoid, not just avoid that kind of physical situation, but also give alternate channels to your customers to have that engagement with you? What Google Chat can do, and again, with a very, very verified domain name, such as mybusiness.com, and not with a gmail.com, which doesn't inspire that kind of trust, they can actually communicate with your team through their phones. They can communicate in real time. Very often, this is a quick and easy way to resolve customer queries or customer issues that don't need in-depth engagement. They don't need like a face-to-face interaction. These are probably quick one-line or one-word answers that you can share with them in real time. What's also helpful is that all of these chat transcripts can actually be saved in the backend, which means that once you have had a chat interaction with a customer, you can actually share over email with them that, hey, here's the interaction that we recently had. If you've got any follow-up queries to this, or if you need any more help, please reach out to us. This really is really a beautiful customer experience, and you can solve smaller queries in a quick and real-time manner for them. The next important piece, and this is just so critical to collect feedback. I think whether it's a customer or whether it's even a prospective customer that you're engaging with, you should always get feedback from them in terms of what worked, what didn't work, how would we improve our processes or improve our customer experience even better, right? Especially in times like this, customers are very, very open to providing feedback, and they're very open to telling you what is it that they would like to see done differently. Hotels are a great example because these are high-touch physical space environments where customers are putting their trust in you and your businesses. Again, use something like Google Forms with like a very simple survey with a very simple feedback to understand Did they like a particular service? Did they like a particular area of your property? Was there a particular agent or particular staff in your business that was super helpful to your customers? If they were to come back, what would they like to see differently in your business? There are a whole range of questions that you can ask, right? You can make it qualitative, you can make it quantitative. Again, look at the power of data. All of this data can get collected in real time, and over, let's say, a few months of operating, you would have all of this data, all of this feedback from your guests in a Google spreadsheet. You could potentially run an analysis again to see what's the favorite part of your hotel that your guests really, really love. Is it your business center? Is it your dining cafe? Is it your in-room service? Maybe 80% of your guests think that your in-room service is the best feature about your hotel. And you probably want to kind of double down on that, make sure that you're making more and more valuable changes and getting like an even delightful customer experience out of that. So this is another great example of how you can build the magic of forms and Google Sheets put together. The next one is really about your employees. Like I said earlier, your employees can potentially feel a little lost. They can feel a little distracted as they go through this journey, right? A lot of your employees may actually be joining right now. If you're one of those businesses that is hiring now and that is hiring new people, they can feel lost. They might be getting onboarded in a remote environment. The other day, I was talking to a colleague that actually joined our organization in the month of June, and she absolutely has not had like a face-to-face physical interaction with anybody else in the organization. And my question to her was that, hey, how was your onboarding experience? And she said that, just the ability to find all the resources, all the basic information, all the organizational policy, all the videos collated in one single hub internally is what made it super, super easy for her. So this is what I'm trying to talk about here. Imagine if you could create an intranet site that's available only for your internal organization's purposes. It's not available externally, which hosts like all your training videos, your documents, your policies, basically the 101 of anything that a new member in your organization needs to know. And they can actually consume this content at their own pace, at their own luxury, consume it in a way that keeps them totally updated. Not just the new employees. Think of, let's say, your hotel guest policy has an update. Would you want to make sure that every single person in the hotel has access to this new policy? Absolutely, yes. But instead of kind of broadcasting it out to every individual member, can you host it on your training website? Can you share an update with everyone that, hey, there's new content here, there's an update, please go and familiarize yourself with that. You can again like combine it with something like a form where every individual who's actually consuming that content submits that form and confirms that yes, I've actually indeed consumed this content, I find it helpful, or if I have any feedback on this particular piece. So just make sure that you create these kind of internal communication and learning platforms for your own employees also as you think of your customers. The next piece, and this is where I kind of want to tie all of this back together very neatly with each other. Put your customer at the focus of your digital enablement, right? Starting with customer acquisition, reach out, engage, welcome customers to your business. We spoke about tools like Gmail. We spoke about how can you, really do like a video call, like a face-to-face chat with your prospective customers, and kind of accelerate the pace at which you are acquiring new customers for business. We then spoke about process optimization, and we looked at different internal processes like a minibar consumption example or a customer service example. We are able to drive a lot of operational efficiency. We are able to drive low touch and truly, truly make it a delightful experience for your customers. From there, we thought of like customer experience. How do you really use insights and data that you've collected based on feedback from your customers to actually improve the experience? The one thing that you want is a returning customer. Every business wants to have like a maximum lifetime value from a customer. They want to have them over and over again. And using data, using insights to improve the experience is truly something that can help with that. And last but not the least, a happy employee is a happy business. Make sure that your employee onboarding, your employee collaboration and training is all designed with this lens of customer service and with this lens of acquisition. And that's how you keep closing that loop over and over again, right? And if each of these components in this customer and employee loop is always digitally enabled and it's digitally leveraged over a period of time. Everything that we spoke about earlier of having more businesses, having more profitable businesses, all of that will become a reality as we keep iterating through the cycle over and over again. With that, I also wanted to leave you all with a few resources to help you get started. Everything that I spoke about today is part of a suite of products that we call G Suite, which is part of Google Cloud. When these slides are shared out with you, you will see the first link here where you can explore a lot more about the G Suite product. You can explore a lot more about the pricing, etc. The second resource here, and which is where a lot of the examples that I showed earlier came from, is called the G Suite Transformation Gallery. Like I said earlier, any tool or technology is only as good as the kind of use cases for which you can deploy it. These are the different applications, and there are a lot more that are hosted on Transformation Gallery. You can search and filter by the kind of business you are. You can search and filter by the kind of vertical you are, and you'll find some examples that are super relevant for you. I also wanted to share a few stories of how many small businesses like yourself have actually gone on this digital transformation journey and what are the kind of benefits that they've seen. There are a few detailed, lovely case stories, lovely quotes from business owners like yourselves as we go through these links. And last but not the least, a lot of times small businesses find it challenging to kind of figure this entire complicated maze of different tools, technologies, how to do change management. We've got specific partners who are specialized in the kind of work transformation that can truly help you. I've left a link to a partner directory here where you can get in touch with any of them. And with that, I will hand it back to Shweta. I hope that you all found this session useful, and I'm looking forward to some interesting questions from the group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhinav. Thank you for bringing in all of these different ideas to us. And I'm sure they've helped many of us think of very different ways in which we can use these very simple technologies to engage with our customers, engage with our employees, and make some of our processes digitally enabled. In these times when we are looking at minimal touch and physical touch points, I think a lot of what you shared resonates with me as a consumer for sure, and I'm sure it resonates with many of our travel players, what they can really use for their businesses. So with that, I'm going to maybe post a couple of questions to you, Abhinav. We've gotten some from people who are attending today, and a few that we had as written from our previous sessions as well. So one of the questions, Abhinav, that we've gotten is that, and I want to read out the comment as is because you won't be able to see the comments you're getting. It says that the session is quite interesting, but how do you suggest that we use some of these systems? How do we avail it really? So, for example, report minibar consumption electronically. How do we really use it? That's the question for you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So there are a few steps involved here, right? Number one, like I shared on the slide about resources, explore a little more about the G Suite set of products, right? One of the first steps that you would need, and this ties back to the whole brand identity piece, is creating your own domain name. So let's say if I had a chain of hotels called Abhinav Hotels, I would first of all go and purchase a domain, which is abhinavhotels.com, abhinavhotels.net, etc., right? Once I have a domain and I've created that brand identity, I would link a G Suite account, which, like I said, is like an all-encompassing suite that contains all of these products like Gmail, Google Form, Google Sheets, all of these put together. What would happen is that my G Suite account actually gets linked to my domain, which is actually my digital business identity. And all of these products then get activated for that particular domain and for that particular business. Thereon, it's really up to you in terms of how many employees do you have and how many users within your company's G Suite account you want to create. If you have, let's say, 2 or 3 users who most commonly are accessing these different tools, create 3 different licenses. They would all have access to the same set of tools and technologies. There would be an administrator within your organization that's actually got access and control and can actually enable each of the users on how they kind of start using these different products. As soon as your products are activated for a user, it's pretty much an off-the-shelf kind of offering, right? It's very easy to create. For example, I could potentially create a form for a minibar consumption in less than 5 minutes, and just the common fields. Everything's a very what you see is what you get kind of environment, right? So it's not, there's no coding involved. I think that's always reassuring to know that you don't have to create something from scratch. It's completely an out of the box, very easy to use and deploy kind of product. If you still think that there are any queries and you would love to get some support, I did call out that we have work transformation partners who can truly talk to you, understand what are your business requirements, what are the use cases that are most common for you, and they can actually help set up everything for you. So you don't even need to have that expertise in-house. You can just outsource it and get someone to do it for you.
And I think with that, you almost answered the second question that we have, but I'm going to still post it to you. So the second question was that as a first-time user of this, do we have any tech support that we get from Google?
Yes, so I do want to call out, we also provide tech support directly as an organization. There are multiple channels. You can reach out to a support team once you have come on board the G Suite family. We've got support which is available over email, available over chat. And like I said, if you're a small organization with 1 or 2 users at this point in time, a lot of support can actually be availed from a self-help resources. We've got a very exhaustive library, step-by-step instructions. We've got screenshots on how do you set up your account, how do you set up your users. And in fact, if you go to the transformation gallery, for each of these individual use cases, you will also find step-by-step instructions on how to activate these use cases. Unless you're looking for use cases outside of these, you can actually just follow a ready tutorial for all of them.
Great. And then we've gotten another question which says, in continuation of the question that we had asked about systems availability, it would be great if we can share the costs of these available programs or systems, and what would be the cost of having all of this put together. So yeah, over to you, Abhinav.
Yes. So like I mentioned earlier, G Suite, and when I say G Suite, I again want to reiterate, I mean the entire suite and bundle of products. It's available in India for a list price of 2,520 rupees per user per year, right? We also have a slightly different pricing. It's a current promo that's active, and you can see the pricing on our website. This price is specific to organizations that have less than 20 employees, and they can actually avail this for a list price of 1,500 Indian rupees per user per month. All the details are available on the website. Feel free to kind of go there, explore. You can actually make a G Suite purchase directly on Google's website. Or if you need any kind of hand-holding or support, you can reach out to one of our partners.
Thanks, Abhinav. And the next one is that we're a very small organization with just 2 or 3 employees. How can G Suite digital enablement still help us or be meaningful for us?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And I'll go back to my first slide, right? There are multiple different market situations that we are currently trying to address. One of them is brand identity. One of them is building trust with your customers. Irrespective of the number of employees that you have, even if frankly you're a single employee organization, building that identity and building that identity for your customers is still super, super important to you, and that's where G Suite can help you. The aspect of employee collaboration really comes in if you've got at least more than 1 employee, or in a more ideal state, more than 2 or 3 employees, right? But like I said, even if it's a single employee organization, having like your own email ID that you can put out on a visiting card or that you can share an email from, even if you're getting discovered. I know that there was a session on Google My Business in one of the earlier webinars. Imagine having a gmail.com address on your Google My Business listing, or having an email address that says sales@mybusiness.com, right? It's got a whole different vibe and a whole different brand equity that strengthens a lot of your other branding elements. So yeah, I think irrespective of the size of the organization, there's still value that can be derived.
Great. So thank you so much. I know there are a couple of more questions that are there. And again, I'm going to, because it is a Friday evening and we're all going to want to give back time to each other. So please continue to post your questions. If you have any, as I said, till the end of the day, we're going to keep the email ID active. So if you have any more questions for Abhinav, for me, or for any of the other speakers who you've had through this entire month of series that we've done, you feel free to post them and we'll be happy to send out responses to you. And with that, I want to thank you, Abhinav, again for doing this and bringing this together for us. I thought it was really unique and useful because it was you tried to make this technology simple for us, which is really really helpful. So thank you so much for that, Abhinav.
My pleasure.
So
Thanks
with
for
that,
having me, Shweta.
thanks, Abhinav. So, with that, I'm going to conclude this series today. And on behalf of the Google and FICCI team, thank you, all of you, again for attending, for supporting us, for giving us the feedback. We know that we might not have been able to go very deep into many of the subjects that we covered, but the idea of the webinars was to give you some thought starters on how you can reimagine and pivot your businesses to digital. So we're hoping that we've been able to achieve some of that in terms of an objective for you, and some of the things that we shared would probably resonate with you. So for all of you who've reached out to us, asking us more questions and more details on so many things that we shared with you through these four webinar series, we will be sending out a wrap-up email to all of you where we'll share all the resources about all of these four sessions that we've completed. So all of our speakers have put together all the resources from everywhere that they've shared information with us, some examples, some training tools, some videos that you can use so that you can put all that we've shared with you to real use in your own businesses. So we're hoping that that's going to be useful for you. And as we said, if you still feel that there are areas that Google can help you with for your business, write to us, give us that feedback, and we will try and put together something else for you also that can continue to keep helping you. So thank you for spending your Friday evening with us and for all of these different sessions. And goodbye from all of us at Google and FICCI.